Let's run a quick level 3 diagnostic just to be sure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special supplementary edition of the Divine Treasury. We're calling this the Level 3 Diagnostic, where we're going to start looking into different products and doing reviews on them. And for our first episode, we have Kyle Hadyniak from Trek News to join us, and we're going to consider the Lower Decks Blu-ray release. Yeah, I was almost tongue-tied there. The Blu-ray release. I thought I said the Blu-lay. So we're already having to edit for quality assurance. So the Lower Decks Blu-ray release that came out, it's about a week ago now, right, Kyle?
Yeah, a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and time is relative, right?
Yeah. I know it wasn't that long for me. Mine came a day late via Amazon, but I've had the chance to I actually put it on while I'm working, and I listen to the episode in the background. And when there's special features, it's like listening to a documentary. So let's get rolling. We'll start off the first thing, Kyle, since you have done a review on this for treknews.net. We'll ask you, what does CBS have on the discs for us if we buy the physical media?
Yeah, so CBS, didn't really pull any punches per se when it came to this release. So I'm pretty happy with what's on there. So not only do you get the whole 10 episode first season, which I'll just say for the millionth time, I love Lower Decks. So I was very happy to see that, of course, all the episodes are there. That's kind of like the basic thing we should expect. But more than that, there are so-called lower dictionaries. Just want to make sure I had that right. Lower dictionaries to go with each episode.
I had to read it a few times to figure that one out. Is there
a typo here, or am I having a stroke or something? Like, what's going on? So yeah, with every episode comes like a 5 or 10 minute little featurette that talks about a certain aspect of the show, and normally it relates to the episode in question. So for example, for the first episode, for the pilot, you might suspect that the Lower Dictionary for that episode deals with kind of the origin of Lower Decks, right? The origin of the show and how they developed season 1. And it goes on and on. And you can go check out the discs to see what those dictionaries are all about. But I'll say, just generally, they are enjoyable to watch, well worth the time. And the thing is, there isn't a whole lot of time to invest because, like I said, they're only like 5 or 10 minutes. So you can knock those out pretty quickly, along with the rest of the show, because the show itself isn't that long either.
Yeah, I was going to say too, watching some of these little special features and these little clips that you just kind of alluded to, Kyle. I have to say, Mike McMahon, I really enjoy listening to him talk about the show. He genuinely loves it. He genuinely loves Star Trek, and he really loves what he's created. And I love the fact that he just loves the people that he's surrounded with as well. And it was just, he really exuded that excitement as you were watching these special features, for myself personally. So I really love that piece.
Yeah, for sure. And Lower Decks is one of those shows where you could tell while you watch it that the people who make it love what they do. And so that quality really shines through. And yeah, of course, Mike, the creator, he is, he's like the head honcho over there for the show. And you could tell that he loves Star Trek. He loves Next Generation. And I think we see the fruits of that labor in the season.
Absolutely. And I mean, he was given praise to just about everybody that was involved with the making of the series. He's like the player on a ball team that knows the names of like the ball boys,
right?
He knows everybody that's involved with this. He knows them by name. He knows what's going on with them. And like you said, he's totally into this. It was so refreshing to hear what he had to say about his own creation when he was on these special features, as well as, though, I thought it was awesome to hear the high praise that came from Alex Kurtzman and Heather Caden as well about Lower Decks.
The other thing I really liked about Mike too, as well, is he has such a definitive vision of what he wanted the show to be right from the beginning. And even though people maybe doubted what his vision was initially, or perhaps had reservations about whether it was because it was an animated series or whether it was because it was a comedy, he just really had this definitive vision of what he wanted to do, what he wanted to accomplish, and he knew exactly how to get there. And I just think it's really shown so adequately and accurately in these special features. He just really goes step by step on how he got to his vision of where he wanted to be. That I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, and it is super important to be able to articulate that kind of vision he had, because Lower Decks is such a unique show. It's only the second animated show in Star Trek's history. It's, one of 2 half-hour shows, the other being the other animated series. And of course, you have a type of humor in Lower Decks that you don't see anywhere else in Star Trek. So it is really a specific vision Mike and company were going for. And I think they are totally aware of their little niche in the franchise. And yeah, I also enjoyed hearing him talk about, what it took to get there.
Yeah, even the fact that, like, one of the Lower Dictionary series sections was the actual animation process. I couldn't believe the fact that it took a year to do one episode. Like, I mean, obviously they're doing multiple things, but just the process that goes into that was just really eye-opening and really cool. And I love special features. I love documentary stuff. So that's the stuff. That's the first thing. And when I put a DVD or Blu-ray in that, I go right to. So
Yeah,
I think it was so well executed on these Blu-ray discs.
Yeah, for sure. And for those wondering, the animation process is the title of one of the Lower dictionaries. There's also one for art design specifically. And so those two kind of go hand in hand. And like the other dictionaries, those two are really enjoyable to watch. And let's not forget that this show was made mostly in the midst of a pandemic. So to get all this content out on these discs is an extra special thing we got. So kudos to that team for sure.
Yeah, that's actually something I was going to allude to, was how this was all done during the pandemic. You can see within the show itself, or within the special features rather itself, during all of the interviews, the fact that the interviews themselves are being done over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever means is being used for it. You can see that just within the picture itself. But then also there was part of the special features where Dawn Lewis was showing how they sent all kinds of sound equipment to her so that she could record her voiceover in the pandemic, staying socially distant and making sure that everyone was well protected, but still able to get everything out on the screen for us. And now we see the same thing with this release as well.
Yeah, and we can't really, I agree that, checking out these, hearing from the cast and crew via webcam and, Skype or however they used it, not ideal, but it's an interesting testament to when the show was created. So I think we'll look back on this, in a few years, and we'll look at these special features and see that, the quality may not be great on these interviews for the special features, but we'll think, oh yeah, that's right, the show was made in a pandemic. Remember that? Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Remember that. Yeah.
That time.
Right. Like it'll be a footnote in history.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have been very, I guess intrigued is not the word for it, but it's been part of my whole collecting niche, is the fact that CBS is doing a regular DVD Blu-ray release of all of these new Star Treks. So Discovery season 1, season 2, and Picard, and now Lower Decks. so they're doing the regular standard releases, but they're also doing the steelbook releases, which, I mean, for my money, that's where I want to go to for, I mean, let's face it, most of us are doing digital media nowadays. But when we're buying physical media, there's a reason behind it. We're buying it because we want to put it on display somewhere. And, you know, maybe we do actually use the discs at times, but it's more because of what is what's displayable about it. And the steel books, while the case itself is cool, you open it up and the artwork inside is really nice as well.
Yeah, that was a pretty funny episode. That's the first episode.
Yeah,
Is that
I
right?
think
Yeah.
so, with the suckling spider.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so those steel books are pretty nice, and those would totally look good on, you know, a shelf if you open it up and display it. It's like a trophy, kind of, you know.
Absolutely. So one of the things I know the three of us discussed before we even got on here is one of the noticeable differences about this Lower Decks release versus the three that we mentioned before this is the lack of audio commentary on any of the episodes. What do you guys think of that? Are you big audio commentary fans?
Jamie, you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I do like audio commentaries. Not in everything that I watch, but once again, if it's something that I'm really interested in, like Star Trek, or you know, even times where I've watched Star Wars and things like that, I do like hearing some of that behind the scenes stuff. But I really think it depends on who's actually doing the commentary as well. Sometimes they'll pick some random person who really has nothing to do with the actual creation of whatever the show or movie is. But I would have really liked to hear Lower Decks because, like I said, watching some of these special features with Mike McMahon and hearing how enthusiastic he is, I would have loved to hear him do some audio commentary while watching some of these episodes for sure.
Yeah, I would have loved to hear from Mike, and I would have loved to hear from the cast as well, because you got to figure all these folks who in our main cast, they're all comedians in some way, and their humor comes across in their performances on the show. And it would have been really funny to hear them talk over the episodes. And you know, I was kind of surprised that audio commentaries weren't included on this release, because I mean, what do I know, but you would think putting a audio track to the episode would be one of the more manageable special features you can do in the middle of a pandemic. But
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that myself.
Yeah, I mean, who knows the circumstances? So maybe there's a good reason, but in any case, it seems like a missed opportunity. So something to be aware of if you do plan on picking up this release. There's just no audio commentary. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I've been thinking about this since the release, because that was one of the things that jumped off the page at me was the lack of audio commentary. And I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that you're trying to sync up 2 or 3 people and something on screen to be able to get that commentary right. I mean, hey, I'm not in the business. I don't know what they do to do these audio commentaries. I'm just thinking, we've hopped on Discord before and watched a movie together and chatted, and it doesn't seem like it's always everything is in sync. So I wonder if maybe that had something to do with it. You never know. It could have just been because they're also working on season 2 at the same time. You never know.
Maybe. And, I bet, I have a feeling, I'll make a prediction that we'll get an audio commentary on season 2 whenever that gets released on Blu-ray. So in a year and a half or so, whenever that release comes out, let's check it and see if we get some audio commentaries there.
Because the fans have spoken and they're asking for it. Yeah,
exactly. It's a tradition in Star Trek that if the fans want something and they make enough noise, then they can get it. So we'll see. Right.
So one of the things that I loved in particular about the whole first season of Lower Decks, and I'm sure we're going to continue to see it just because of Mike McMahon and staff's enthusiasm for Star Trek as a franchise. And they actually did a special feature on this, was the hidden in plain sight, the Easter eggs that were included in this series. Get some thoughts from the two of you guys on how it brought joy to your hearts to see these things during the initial release of Lower Decks.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, so that nobody else steals this, is I love the Spock helmet.
Oh,
Everybody loves the Spock helmet.
You have no idea, Jamie, because here we go. Spock helmet right there.
And if you want a t-shirt with a Spock helmet on there, please go to TeePublic/Trek Geeks and buy one of our new t-shirts. But anyways, I digress. But I love that section. Actually, to be honest with you, Mike, that was probably my favorite special features section. I love Easter eggs. I love looking for Easter eggs in shows, and the fact that like it is so important to the creators of this show to put Easter eggs all over the place is just like they're speaking to me specifically. So I love that whole section. In fact, like I love the whole part about the Vasquez rocks and how they were like trying to incorporate them
in like as many episodes as they could.
Yeah, as many episodes as they could, and which with the Gorn wedding, and even just the whole TOS thing too. When Ransom's talking about the whole TOS era, and
what does he call them? Those old scientists?
Yeah, those old scientists or something like that. But it's just taking something that we as a fan, like our lingo, how we talk, how we relate to the different shows, and just boom, inserting it into the show. It just kind of reminds me of like Zephram Cochrane from First Contact talking about, are you guys some astronauts going on a Star Trek? It's like that same type of thing. So I love that. Was like probably my favorite special features on this Blu-ray release.
Yeah, I'm really happy they decided to have a specific special feature dedicated to the Easter eggs, because if you go back, like for first-time viewers, if you check out the episodes on these discs, go back and look at Trek News's reviews that I did. I had a great time doing them, and most of those reviews, like if you were to do the total word count, I'm sure they were just the lists of Easter eggs that I saw in the episodes. It's like it was a really fun Easter egg hunt, basically. And I was very happy to see Hiding in Plain Sight.
Yeah, I gotta say that one of what is it in what's the last episode called? Broken Pieces? Is that what it was?
No Small Parts.
No Small Parts. Broken Pieces was from Picard. Yeah, No Small
Come on,
Parts. Mike. Too many parts floating around. Yeah, No Small Parts. And there, Mariner kicks open the side panels, and all the contraband comes out, and it's like it's a ton of Easter eggs there. It's a batleth, and it's the Spock helmet, and it's all kinds of cool stuff in there.
It's cool though too, because they took the Easter eggs thing to like a different level, and I love like how Mike McMahon was talking about, in that first episode, Second Contact. She's got, now we're all thinking when we see it in her hand that she's got Romulan ale in her hand. Like we're all thinking that. But I love the fact that Mike McMahon was like, no, I like whiskey. So I'm going to call it Romulan whiskey. I'm going to say that Romulans like whiskey too, so.
And it's the best in the quadrant.
Yeah. So it's things like that are really cool. Cause like I said, the second you saw it on screen, I was thinking that's Romulan ale. I'm waiting for them to say Romulan ale, but it just, him putting his little humorous spin on it, it was so cool.
And that's a great example of how audio commentaries could have really worked for the show.
Right.
Mike watching every episode, he can comment on anything he wants across any of those 10 episodes. Yeah. But, we got what we got, and, we're happy with it. Just next time, Mike, we want to hear you more. Okay.
Yeah. So Mike McMahon, if you are listening / watching, first of all, come be a guest. Second of all, we want audio commentary next time.
Please.
But one of the other things that I thought he made a really cool point about too, when it came to these, was that they weren't putting them in just for the sake of putting them in. There was a reason behind them, a reason that could be explained through the episode, unless it was something like when Boimler's doing his pretend captain's log in the closet, and you can see Nomad in the corner, and like 3/4 of it is cut off. He's like, yeah, that we did for us. He's like, there's no need to explain that. That's just a fun piece that you can barely see there in the corner. But the stuff that's there for everybody to see, that you don't need to be like looking with a magnifying glass, there's a reason behind it. Plus, it's cool for everybody too.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I can't wait for season 2, guys.
No, me neither.
I'm
August
super
12th,
psyched.
I believe, was the date.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I should probably know.
looking forward to it. Okay, so we've covered a couple of the main special features here. How about some of the other special features that are available on this DVD Blu-ray release?
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but one of my favorite episodes from season 1 was Crisis Point, where they just totally skewer all the movies. It's so funny. And so as a little special feature on the Blu-ray here, we get the Rise of Vindicta trailer. So that's pretty cool to check out if you are like us and just love that episode. And then we also have the longest special feature on the release, and that's Faces of the Fleet. And that's described as a deep dive into the crew of the USS Cerritos, along with the producers, writers, and the cast of Lower Decks. So they highlight backstories and behind the scenes development of the season. And it especially takes a look at the main characters. So if you really love the ensemble cast that Lower Decks had, all the ensigns, take a look at Faces of the Fleet, because those are the faces that they pay attention to here.
A couple of things that were really cool about that too is they did this like really interesting poster art for every character.
Yep.
That was really cool. And I loved hearing Jerry O'Connell talk about Ransom, and all I got to say is double-fisted Kirk punch.
That's right. Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if you're like me and you really enjoyed the characterization of the Lower Decks cast, then definitely check out Faces of the Fleet. That's where Lower Decks really shone for me, besides all the fun little Easter eggs, but it had its own heart, and it portrayed that heart through the characters. And I'm happy to see that this Blu-ray touches on that aspect of the show.
Yeah, it wasn't just comedy for the sake of comedy. Yes, it was funny, but there was a Star Trek story that was interwoven throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's something else. You talked about the characters, but I think a real strength of Star Trek, a real strength of like TNG, was the relationships too. And you really see through this special features, Faces of the Fleet, that how the relationships of the characters really intertwine. Like, you saw that relationship of Data and Geordi in TNG, and how they did that with, Tendi and Rutherford, how they developed that. And then I also like how they took, Tawny Newsom's her rehearsal. What's the word I'm looking for? Audition. They took her audition audio and they put it next to Jack Quaid's to see how they would sound together. And that's how they really came up with, this is the guy for us, because they sound like they could have a relationship together, a friendship together. And I like that he really focused on the relationships. And that's a tough thing to do when you're talking about an animated series, and them not being able to interact in the same room due to a pandemic. He was really able to capture those relationships, which to me is really the essence of Star Trek in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and it's a great. Oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say was it was also cool, going along the same lines of what Jamie was saying with those pieces, was how they rolled some tape of Tawny doing improvisation throughout some of this, and they allowed her to just do her thing and then kind of pick what worked best for the episode itself.
Yep. There's a lot of work that goes on for an animated show. And I think some people may think that it's less work than a full live action show like Discovery, right? Or Picard. But no, I mean, these special features show that there's a lot that even goes into a 10 episode, animated show. And it definitely shows. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. And I've also got to say, we almost glossed over the rise of Vindicta, but
Gotta
Crisis
go back to
Point.
it.
That's right. Crisis Point. You touched on it. Not only was it an awesome nod to the movies, but I gotta say, like, the freaking quality of the video on that, where they made it look like it was in the 80s with like hair on the film,
Yep.
and it just incredible is all I can say.
Labor of love for sure.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. The episode was great. This trailer is a neat little parody of that. It's like a parody on a parody, which is just hilarious. And I'm glad they went through the effort to make this. It kind of reminds me of when on older Pixar movies, how they would make like little end credit special feature type things, like fully animated, fully voiced little shorts,
Like
or like whatever they used
bloopers,
to
yeah.
do. Yeah, exactly, the gag reels for like A Bug's Life or something.
Right.
And it just shows that those creators really loved what they were doing. And seeing something like this trailer, it may not be a long thing, it may not be something that took them a whole lot of time, but they did it because they love what they did for Crisis Point, right? And so it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I can't get enough of that episode. And I know people have complained about this, or I've heard people complain about the storyline and that it kind of takes a turn as far as Beckett's character. For me, it's a comedy.
It was an important episode for her, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's character building. It's character building. And another point from that episode, and it's actually brought out in one of the special features, I think it's one of the lower dictionaries, is when it talked about the music from the series.
Yep.
And the music on that episode highlighted so well, because it's like he took portions of movie scores and kind of melded them together, but you thought you knew what the next note was that was coming because it sounded familiar, and then he went a different direction because he was creating his own thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that description that you provide, Mike, is totally accurate. And it also reminds me of the score for Star Trek Picard, because the composer there, Jeff Russo, yeah, thank you. I think he approached his show in a similar way. So the music of Lower Decks is a great dictionary, and to go along with that, another dictionary, it focuses on the main titles for Lower Decks, which, watching the first episode, I wasn't looking forward to the main titles because I just didn't really think of it compared to the rest of the episode, but I ended up like laughing hysterically at the main titles, and for a few reasons, but in any case, if you're like me and found that hilarious, there is a dictionary for you about the main titles, so something to check out.
You also can't forget the autographs at the end of Crisis Point as well.
Oh God, yeah, that's fantastic.
the homage to Star Trek 6, the Undiscovered Country.
I love it.
Except they signed off as their characters instead of as the actors, which
that's true,
is almost better.
Yeah. Plus, it was also because they were in the holodeck, right? So they were
acting as other characters.
That's right.
I love it. And then to round out the special features, just worth noting, won't really go too much into it, but there are animatics as well that viewers can check out. And it's basically like deleted scenes for an animated show. So it's really just like storyboard type stuff. It's not fully animated scenes like you would see in perhaps a live action show. So just a neat thing to look at. Not the selling point of this home media release, but just so you know it's there.
Very nice. Well, he is Kyle Hadyniak. He is from treknews.net, and he has joined us here on the Level 3 Diagnostic as we do a deep dive into the Lower Decks Blu-ray release that came out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. And where can we see your review coming out?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike and Jamie. You can check out Trek News' review of the home media release at treknews.net. You can go there. It's probably up by the time this episode's posted. And then if you at all feel like it, go back and check out some of the reviews, the episode reviews that I wrote for Trek News for Lower Decks. You'll see that I love the show.
Oh, we really appreciate you asking us to participate in this, because it then spawned this supplementary series on the Divine Treasury. So to channel my inner Bill Smith for all the news on all the Star Treks, check out treknews.net. For now, my name is Mike, and I speak for Jamie when we say thank you for joining us on this supplementary edition of the Divine Treasury Level 3 Diagnostic, the Divine Treasury, connecting through collecting.
Music for the Divine Treasury is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. The Divine Treasury is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com, or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.